Hello everyone and welcome back to Driver Career for the Belgian Grand Prix in season 2022. We should be able to have a good time here, I think. We've got a decent power unit, and though our car has declined slightly on the R&D charts recently, hopefully we can still make the most of a circuit I do very much enjoy. As always, we kick things off with the Pirelli Hot Lap Challenge. And once again, we are doing the rival duel. I will probably try and mix things up a little bit towards the end of the season. Might start choosing options I haven't done much of, because we have done this rival duel quite a lot. But it's just the most interesting of the available options most of the time. But anyway, we navigate the final chicane. And yeah, that should be the first round done and dusted. You have to be a little bit actually careful with track limits, because they can catch you out in these rival duels. They are strictly enforced, so yeah, we do have to watch out for that. We can't go too crazy, but anyway, we get the win on the first one, so we will at least get the bronze. But of course, we want to go ahead and win all three if we can. Starting side by side with old mate, who's been losing these rival duels to us all season long. And yeah, we get the jump once again off the start. It's honestly the starts that make these, I mean, relatively easy. We have had a couple of challenges here and there, but so far we're going okay in this one as we continue to lead the way up towards Blanchimont. It is a much more significant corner in these cars. It is a very different driving experience compared to just flinging an F1 car through here without a thought, really, about how how well it's going to grip. You can be pretty confident it's going to make the corner, but we didn't do a very good job there. We got absolutely done on the exit, so we're going to have to go for the big old dive down the inside into the final corner. We can go quite late on the brakes, and we do manage to squeeze ourselves down the inside, and that should be a job done. We move ourselves up into first. And yeah, we get to the second win. So yeah, that could make the final one quite tricky, because we do have the odd weakness here or there in this car at this circuit, but hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. Again, not that this is that's consequential, really, but it's just fun to try and do the best we can. So here we go for the final one, and it's a relatively short run to the first corner. We still get a really nice start though, and we will manage to get down the inside, but we go a little bit deep, and that might leave us compromised on the exit, as old mate does get the switch back, but we should be able to reel him in by the end. But we're going to have to make sure we get Blanchimont perfectly right if we want to go for the move at the bus stop. We've got a little bit of momentum sitting in the slipstream as we head towards Blanchimont, and we're going to go for the move down the inside into Blanchimont. A little bit unconventional, but we get through, or at least we get side by side. We don't quite get through just yet. Bit of a bump into the final chicane. We give him a big old shove towards the inside there, and yeah, I wasn't expecting him to be on the brakes quite so early there, but anyway, we muscle our way through, and somehow that is completely legal. So yeah, that's that. But anyway, that out of the way, let's get into the serious stuff for the weekend, because we're past the summer break now. It's heading towards crunch time this season, so we do need to really start to worry about the lack of progress we've made throughout this season. I mean, on the R&D charts, we aren't really any better off to where we were in round one. Results have come our way recently, thanks to some strategy and good luck, but yeah, it is getting a little bit tougher as of late, and of course we've had our couple of reliability dramas as well in Monaco, and most recently as well, just 2 rounds ago, sandwiched between the 2 recent race victories we had. So yeah, it's it's up and down this season, I suppose, but we'll see where things go today. But yeah, we'll take a look at the weather forecast for the weekend. and see how things look to be playing out in that regard. Looks like it's going to be all relatively clear. Very low chance of rain throughout the weekend, and just overcast conditions mostly. Failed upgrade, big sad. We'll get that one fixed up in time for the Italian Grand Prix. Always good to get some power unit upgrades on there, so hopefully that can help us out. But yeah, that's one I believe that had probably already failed at the end of the previous episode. We can also get a drag reduction upgrade, and if we rush it, we can get that on the car in time for the Italian Grand Prix, and we might as well at this point. If we can get that on the car, that's going to be huge, and we'll be able to capitalize on that race. So hopefully that's how things work. Paul Ricard was the other DNF we had. Now that I get to see the calendar, forget which order the circuits are in. But yeah, with that, we're ready for the Belgian Grand Prix. So yeah, there are the championship standings. After the previous round, we are currently in the lofty heights of 5th place. So hopefully we'll be able to maintain that, but it's going to be tough. We don't have the pace to be 5th in the championship. It's just through a couple of freakishly good results we've had lately, with the mixed conditions in Austria really playing into our hands. I mean, that could have easily been a 1-2 if Yuki Tsunoda had made it to the end of the race. But I mean, in that regard, we've been supremely unlucky. But anyway, pace is, well, maybe a little bit too good here, let's be honest. We managed to top Q1, so might have misjudged the difficulty there a little bit, but I'll manage that throughout the rest of the session. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda gets through as well in P11, knocked out. We, of course, as always, have the 2 Canadian drivers, although Lance Stroll all the way up in the lofty heights of P17. So getting to the forward part of the penultimate row of the grid there. Zhou Guanyu not going so well, but Alex Albon knocked out, as well as Sebastian Vettel. So yeah, Vettel, Stroll, Albon, Zhou, Latifi are the bottom 5, to put that in a more succinct fashion. Anyway, Verstappen tops Q2, and yeah, we only managed P2 this time. So yeah, as everyone else sort of gets up to speed, they seem to, it's not uncommon for everyone else to be a little bit slower in Q1, so it's not always too much of a surprise if we are a little bit higher than usual. But yeah, we still have maybe a little bit of excess pace in hand. But knocked out in this one, we've got the Hasses of Magnussen and Schumacher, Yuki Tsunoda down in P13, Valtteri Bottas in P12, as well as Esteban Ocon at P11. George Russell only just scraped through in P10, so he's very lucky there that no one else managed to sneak ahead. But yeah, with that said, let's move on into Q3, and we'll see what kind of lap we can put together here. We go a little bit deep into T1. I'm just going to do the one flying lap more than likely in this session, as early in the session as I can, essentially, just to try and balance out my misjudgment of the difficulty with the track evolution, and hopefully that should give a more balanced end result to the session. But yeah, with no ability to change the difficulty between qualifying sessions, that's the best I can do. But anyway, as we continue on through our lap, seems to be going okay so far, but unfortunately we did pick up.
The body's taken some damage. I suggest we box so we can check it out.
Did pick up a little bit of floor damage. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, that did happen at one point, unfortunately. We crossed the line though, and we complete our lap. We do have to, of course, get that damage fixed before we go out again regardless, and looking at the time remaining,
We've had to spend time repairing the damage to the car,
as well as how long it's going to take to fix the car, I don't think we're going to get out again. We'll only have probably not even 2 minutes of excess time after that's finished. So yeah, it's too close to the end of the session. If we leave the pits now, we're not going to get back around. So our qualifying's done, and all we can really do is watch on with Lando Norris, the only driver behind us in the session, although he is improving massively in the middle sector and he goes up to P7, so we will be starting out of P10.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Verstappen, Perez, and Carlos Sainz. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So it's an all Red Bull front row then, with Max Verstappen leading Sergio Perez away from the first two positions. Carlos Sainz a very good P3, he'll be over the moon with that one. And P4 and 5 for the Mercedes drivers, Russell ahead of Hamilton. P6 for Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc will be pretty disappointed with P7 with Sainz up in third. Lando Norris, a bit of a late recovery to 8th position, so he did drop down after that final lap that we watched him set. And then Fernando Alonso, P9, myself P10. And yeah, we were not able to replicate the lap we did earlier on. I don't know when that floor damage happened, so that could have played a part in our lap time.
We're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula One World Championship. It's a race that the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher back in 1992. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners, and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high quality racing as well. Simply put it, there's no place quite like it. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, the Scientist, and Verstappen, Bottas, Perez, Sainz. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Mick Schumacher, Vettel, Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, and Leclerc, Albon, Latifi, Esteban Ocon. They've taken a grid penalty, and Yuki Tsunoda, Magnussen, and Guan Yu Zhou. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, that was a chaotic grid sequence. I count no less than 9 drivers taking grid penalties for this round. The Red Bulls of Verstappen and Perez. We've got Sainz, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Ocon, Tsunoda, Magnussen and Zhou all taking grid penalties. I hope I didn't miss any. But anyway, as for strategy, after looking at all the options, looks like softs to 2 sets of mediums will be the way to go. Mediums and hards could also be a viable strategy, and I believe that's what the Mercedes drivers are doing, because they are both starting on hard tyres on the front row, so they're taking a big risk at the start of this race. Fernando Alonso also on hards, Verstappen on mediums, Norris, myself and Bottas on softs. It's 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's a great start from Lando Norris, and we're going to get past Fernando Alonso as well. We're very cautious into turn 1 though, but we will go late eventually around the outside. We might actually get the Mercedes car there, who was very slow. That was Lewis Hamilton, who was going nowhere on the exit of turn 1. No traction on those hard compound tyres, and he got absolutely swamped. And not only by myself, but Valtteri Bottas on the inside as well was able to get through, so Hamilton absolutely a mess at the exit of turn 1, and now we are under serious pressure from the Finn as we head up towards turn 5, I guess this is, into Les Combes, but we'll hold position there. But Valtteri Bottas was charging towards us along the Kemmel Straight, but we've managed to hold position, and well, we're actually up 2 from the start, so this has worked out very well for us. as we were able to get Alonso towards turn 1. Hamilton on the exit of the first corner. We're struggling a little bit to settle into a rhythm. Bottas is really starting to pile the pressure on. We're hard on the defence.
Just focus on the driving.
We have no damage to the car, and yeah, we just need to settle in. But we will, and hopefully throughout the rest of this lap, through this sort of second half of the middle sector, we can start getting into the flow of things and start pushing forwards towards George Russell, who's going to still be struggling on those hards in the early phases of this race. But that was perfection from Lando Norris. Split the Mercedes cars. He knew that he needed to get to the lead on those soft compound tyres without getting held up, and he executed that start absolutely perfectly. George Russell tried everything to hold on, but ultimately Norris just had the traction, had that bit of extra momentum, and there was nothing Russell could do. And yeah, here's the onboard start with Valtteri Bottas. This is going to be an interesting view of turn 1. He absolutely launched it down the inside, and a slight touch with Hamilton there. That might have destabilized the Mercedes car and allowed us to get around the outside. So yeah, Hamilton would have had his mirrors full of AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo on either side there. But here's the onboard a little bit further back in the pack with Nicholas Latifi, and he made a little bit of contact with the back of Albon, a bit of a lock-up further up the field as well. So yeah, a little bit more chaotic towards the back, but everyone got through more or less unscathed. We go on board now with Sergio Perez, who was keen to start making moves early in this one. Down the inside goes the Mexican on Fernando Alonso, and very important to pass the hard tyre runners early in this one. And yeah, Sergio Perez making a pretty decent start in this one and already closing the margin to Verstappen. They're not exactly fighting for the championship. Verstappen is by far and away the championship leader, but anything Perez can do to minimise the points loss or even overhaul Verstappen in this race will help his chances later on. But we make the move around the outside of George Russell, who's really struggling on the hards. They're not the tyre to be on. It's clear that all the hard tyre runners are struggling, and even Valtteri Bottas is going to go for the move on Russell as well. So yeah, George is really having a bad time on those hard compound tyres. Bottas had to fight for it a little bit. Now Hamilton's on the back of Russell, so maybe Russell is actually just struggling with a more general issue with his teammates catching up. But there goes Sergio Perez making the move on Max Verstappen. Side by side they go through Les Combes into Malmedy, and Sergio Perez has got the job done. He chops across in front of Verstappen, who now looks to the outside, but there's no way through. Checo's got the move done and moves ahead of Max Verstappen. So that's a good move by Sergio Perez, and he now has a chance to outscore Verstappen in this race, albeit currently by only 2 points. But if they can move forward to the podium places, that margin will increase. Back on board with myself though, and we've caught Lando Norris, so we have good pace in this phase of the race, and we should be able to make the move on Lando Norris along the Camel Straight, easy with the DRS.
Just focus on the driving.
We're able to get back to the racing line by the time we get to Les Combes, and that's the job done. We move ourselves up into the race lead, taking a fair amount of the curb there. We've been pushing pretty hard, and towards the end of the first stint we might start to struggle on these tyres as well, Bottas is under pressure as his tyres are starting to fall away, so he might start to drop away, but at the moment he's actually still holding on reasonably well and he's managed to maintain that position ahead of the Mercs. So he's really now, I think, the cork in the bottle here. He had good pace for a while, but now he's falling away.
Okay, we want you to pit this lap, so push now.
So Bottas' tyres may be falling off the cliff as he's under pressure again, heading towards the final bus stop chicane, and Sergio Perez is putting the pressure on Hamilton as Hamilton goes for the move down the inside of Russell. Where did that come from? Bottas peels off into pit lane. Those soft tyres have had enough, but Hamilton has taken full advantage of Russell getting held up by the fin, and Lewis Hamilton, aided by his former teammate, gets through on George Russell and moves up a position in this race ahead of Russell, ahead of Sergio Perez, who, it has to be said, is looking very pacey at this stage. So Sergio Perez is certainly turning up the heat at this stage. We come into the pits a lap later. We need to respond because Norris also pit on that same lap that Bottas did. He's going to get the undercut on us, I think. So we're going to need to watch out for that. As planned, we will be stopping on to a set of the medium compound tyres, which should
Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that.
be a little bit better.
Okay, one stop to go. Just one stop left in this strategy.
Out of pit lane we come then, and a little bit of a squirm on the exit, and that could have been costly because there goes Lando Norris, and we had to do almost a little bit of a dodge there as he came across in front of us, but we managed to get away, no contact, and now we're putting the pressure on through Eau Rouge and Radion. Are we going to be close enough to make the move into Les Combes? I'm not sure we will, because we've both got the DRS open. We have a look to the inside, but no serious attempt at an overtake, and Lando Norris has got us covered for the time being. So, yeah, we might just be stuck here for a moment as we have a little bit of a wobble on the exit there. So, yeah, we're just going to need to try and settle things down and go again in another lap's time. But we've got the two Ferrari cars doing battle through the final chicane. So, that's holding up Lando Norris. We have a look to the inside.
Is coming in for his stop now.
Our teammates well out of contention in this race. Unfortunately, with that grid penalty sending him all the way down to the penultimate row of the grid. But we should be able to make a move here potentially if we can just get a nice run through Eau Rouge and Radion. Norris was... well, we both kind of took unconventional lines through turn 1. Unfortunately, though, we weren't able to get a good enough exit. I thought Norris might have been a bit compromised, but I think we slowed down a little bit too much through Eau Rouge and Radion. And yeah, wow, the Ferrari cars are still going at it, doing battle side by side through Les Combes and Malmedy. But in the end, it's Charles Leclerc who comes out on top. So we'll see if we can make the move now around the outside of Lando Norris, and we've got the presence around the outside, and we get the move done. As we turn left now into No Name Corner, we run a little bit wide. Here comes Norris back up the inside, side by side we go, giving him the big squeeze to the inside towards Pouon. But Lando Norris has got the car there, and there's not a lot we can do about it. Lando Norris back through, and we'll have to slot in behind once more. But that was a good battle. But unfortunately, we just overcooked it into No Name Corner a little bit there, and that allowed Norris to slip back through. So we'll try again, but yeah, this is proving to be a pretty tricky phase of the race for us. But I am feeling a lot better on the medium tyres compared to the softs earlier on. Meanwhile, while that battle was going on, we had a change a little bit further up the field. Sergio Perez was able to get the move done down the inside of George Russell, who continues to struggle in this race on those hard compound tyres. Took a little bit of work, but Sergio Perez was able to get through eventually at Malmedy. So Sergio Perez now up into second place behind Lewis Hamilton. Perez on the mediums, so he's leaving his options open. He could do a 1 or 2 stop at this point. Depends what tyres he goes on to next. Oh, that's a mistake from Hamilton. Perez slips up the inside, and they're going to go side by side. Perez inside line for Malmedy, and Sergio Perez takes advantage of that mistake and gets through. Russell getting involved as well, but not close enough to capitalise on Hamilton's little slip up there. But Hamilton just drifted a little bit wide of the apex there, and that's all the invitation Perez needed to get through down the inside. Shows the grip advantage he still has on those medium compound tyres as we go for the double move down the inside of Norris and Sainz. So we finally clear Lando Norris and put a car between us right away. So that's an important one. Here's the onboard with Sainz. We come from so far back, but we've got to stop nicely. Sainz saw us coming and yeah, had a little run on the exit, but eventually decided to slot in behind us. So yeah, that worked quite well for us. A little look to the inside of Leclerc, but no move to be made into the bus stop. But we should be able to get this move done sooner or later. We've got fresh medium, so we should be, you know, along with Norris,
lapping around a second faster than the car ahead. Keep this up.
among the
No issues
fastest
with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
cars on track at the moment. And yeah, we do get the move done on Charles Leclerc. Fernando Alonso proving a little bit more difficult. We couldn't out-traction Alonso the way we did with Carlos Sainz, but a nice run there through Eau Rouge and Radion, and that's got us right on the back of the Alpine driver as we head up towards Les Combes once more. We make the move to the outside, a little bit of a hesitation on the brakes there, but we get through on Fernando Alonso, and that moves us up another position in this race.
Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place.
We're up into the top 5 now. Here's the onboard with Max Verstappen. We go full send around the outside of the Dutchman. We get the job done there, so we are absolutely on a charge. And Verstappen also, along with Russell I suppose, seems to be struggling for pace. As I said, he was overtaken by Sergio Perez earlier and hasn't made the same progress on the Mercs that Perez has. With that said, Perez dives it off into pit lane as we are working away at George Russell to try and get through. So this is for genuine position. Presumably we both have one more stop left, myself and Russell, for medium compound tyres. So yeah, Russell's been so slow on the hards that we've managed to, catch up again after making a pit stop. So yeah, that's kind of baffling. I thought, Mercedes car, he should have a little bit more pace than that, but Hamilton wasn't too much further up the road, so the one-stop strategy really isn't working for him, or indeed for Lewis Hamilton, who isn't much further up the road, but is still faring better than Russell, who did briefly come back on us there, but we were able to get back through. And yeah, it isn't too long before we do catch up to Lewis Hamilton, and soon enough we'll be taking the race lead.
Looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there, we're attempting to manage it.
And now it's all about to go downhill. A technical fault with the car once again. Hopefully this is only a small one. We've had some big ones lately. Hopefully this is just a minor issue and it's not going to cause us to retire from the race. Hamilton dives off into pits.
Behind is 26.6 seconds.
So that releases us into the race lead. And yeah, we are...
okay, we have a severe engine issue. Find a safe space to retire or return to the pits.
Out of the race, apparently.
Okay, this is serious. We need you to retire as soon as possible.
And that makes it 3 of the last 4 races. Our team has lost a podium due to a mechanical failure. Thanks, guys. Wretched luck this season. Just, I don't know. I have no words.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly deserved win. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well, a great victory for Sergio Perez today. He had piles of pace in the Belgian Grand Prix. Second place for Lewis Hamilton and P3 for Lando Norris on the podium.
The gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
Let's move on to the constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Well, there you go. Sergio Perez with the victory ahead of Hamilton, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen down in P6, P7 for Carlos Sainz, 8th for Daniel Ricciardo, P9 for Fernando Alonso, and Esteban Ocon rounding out the point scorers. Bottas and Tsunoda just missing out today. But what a disaster. Fastest lap of the race for Max Verstappen, despite not having the greatest pace. Drivers' Championship, Perez closes into Verstappen a little bit, but not really a big deal. We drop down a position, I think. And in the Teams Championship, we are still ahead of McLaren, albeit by just 1 point. So, yeah, we really do need to get our act together now. We need to get our act together yesterday, pretty much. It's that bad. We don't even get resource points for mechanical failures at this point. The team are just beyond that. So, yeah. It's going to be a pretty tough end to the season if this trajectory continues. Just such unreliability. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words at this point. It was the turbo that failed this time. So again, a different component. We've had failures on the control electronics, the turbo, as well as the MGUK. That's a lot of faulty components. We might need to take a grid penalty for this one. I don't know if we can get to the end of the season on one more turbo. Or try, but I'm not going to risk putting too much mileage on it. So, yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, it's... what do you do? If a part's going to fail, it's going to fail no matter how well the race is going. And yeah, I mean, for the flat out mechanical failures we've had, I mean, Monaco wasn't going that well anyway, but Paul Ricard, you know, would have been interesting to see how that race played out. And then here, we were absolutely on target for a podium. I don't think we were on target for a win. I think Perez had too much pace. I mean, we were catching him towards the end of the first, or our second stint, his first stint. But he was on very old medium tyres at that point that he had to do a lot of overtaking with. But anyway, failed upgrade there on the durability front. We'll get that tidied up for the next one, but yeah, that was that was in response to the last mechanical failure we had. Funnily enough, and they couldn't even get that right. So anyway, it'll be on the car in time for the Italian Grand Prix, hopefully, along with our other upgrades. But yeah, we're slipping away in terms of R&D. I don't know what to do. We're just, yeah, we're not making any progress. We have more upgrades failing than upgrades going on the car. And, you know, by the time we fix that all up, we're losing too many resource points just fixing upgrades that have failed rather than actually making, actually making progress. So, yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah. It's getting ridiculous. I mean, it was getting ridiculous ages ago. Now it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I have no words.
On the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for the weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've heard that, is it? Anyway, Verstappen continues to lead the championship past the halfway point now. Got 8 rounds to go, so you know we might be able to get to the end of the season on that last turbo, but it will be a little bit of a stretch. But anyway, we do have to do 8 races on a component at some point. So to be fair, that I think would have been the last race that the turbo that failed would have had to have done, or at least the second to last. We would have been changing that quite soon. So yeah, maybe it was towards the end of its lifespan anyway, but still frustrating. Anyway, I can't help pointing out that our 2 victories this season are both followed by DNFs, and even our pair of second places earlier on were followed by a non-score and a DNF, so we've had our ups and downs, I suppose. But anyway, that's all for this one, so I'll say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, always very helpful. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.